Howdy, everybody. Chess College Humanities 4 Film Studies. Here we are, Wednesday. We've only got another week of classes, Monday and Wednesday. So we're winding down. So I'm going to open up all the assignments. The final paper's open right now. So get that in anytime you can between now and then of school, which ends next Thursday. I'll make Friday the deadline, 18th. Get it in. It's going to take me a long time to grade this stuff, and you know how slow I am. And I've got only about 7 days to come up with the final grade. So get it in if you want me to give it a thorough read through. Also, I'll open up the for your journals. Get those in anytime between now and the end of school. I don't care. Get it in. You don't need to have next week's lecture on here. It's okay, unless you want to. And then put it on there. Hand them in if they're ready. And that means they're typed, folks, and they're uploaded just like you do your assignments, and you submit them on the submission board. You'll see it in assignments. I'll put it up there tonight. So that's it. You've done 7 essays. You've done your final paper. You've done a quiz, which I haven't graded yet, but I'm close. Almost finished them. And then your journal. And that's it for the whole rest of your lives. Now you're going to go out and you're going to study film between now and forever, because it's ever changing and it's always fascinating, and there's always something new happening. Look what's happening now. Who would have thought we'd be making movies on our iPhones? That's right. Who would have thought we wouldn't be in movie theaters, that we're all screening on computers and cell phones? But it's happening because the need to tell a story is that strong. We're not going to stop telling stories, folks. The venues may change, the equipment changes, the actors definitely change, but the need to tell the story doesn't change, because our stories is what keeps us human, and it makes our mark in the time we have here on the planet Earth. Not wars, not careers, not how many houses you buy or how many times you go broke or how many cool cars you drive, but it's our creative spirit that makes the mark, whether it's film or music or artists, painters, dancers, opera singers, everything. This class happens to be a film class. So that's what we're studying, cinema. Anyway, I'm going to cover today the rise of the film festivals, how important that was to independent cinema. Is it still important? That's a good question. Well, it's all virtual now. Nobody's going to Sundance this year because it's all virtual. They're still going to do it. If you even know what Sundance is, I'm going to talk about it. I still think the dream's alive, and for filmmakers, Sundance is still definitely a goal to get there, and a very honorable thing to get there with your film. So the Sundance Film Festival was really founded in the late 80s, but it was called the US Film Festival, not USA, US Film Festival out of Utah. And amongst some of the founders, there's 4 or 5 guys who put their money in, was Robert Redford, the actor. Maybe you know who that is. Hopefully you do. Maybe you've seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or 3 Days of the Condor, or The Sting. He was a major movie star. It still is, but he's into his 80s now, so he's not cranking them out like he used to. He's also directed some films, and he's put his money where his mouth is. He's always believed in the next filmmakers, the next directors, the next writers, the next actors that are outside of the Hollywood system. That's not coming through the Hollywood gristmill of starlets and trying to make your way through Hollywood. You could actually film for very little money and submit it to the U.S. Film Festival, and it might get in, and it might get you noticed. It also might get your film sold to a distributor. That was the dream, and it still is essentially. But it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And about 1991, they changed the name of it to from U.S. Film Festival to the Sundance Film Festival, named after Robert Redford's character, the Sundance Kid, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Maybe you know the movie. Hugely popular Western, came out in about 1969 or thereabouts, with Paul Newman, Catherine Ross, and so popular that Redford's really been living on that reputation since then. But he's made some great movies. Every woman of my mother's generation loved that movie. It was the perfect movie of love that you could not have because of a lot of reasons. You should watch it. Romantic of the Highest Order with Barbara Streisand, starring Robert Redford, directed by Sidney Pollack, who was an actor, a very fine actor, a really fine director who passed away a couple years ago, too young, of cancer. So then now we have Sundance, and it's called Sundance. And where's it located? You got to go about 40, 50 miles up the road, back road, to Sundance. It's a ski resort, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It was called Park City. It still is called Park City. I think people call it Sundance now, but that's not true. That's just the festival, not the town. It's a quaint little ski resort town and a picturesque surroundings. Redford, they thought that they should have the film in the middle of winter because they like to punish filmmakers. And so it's usually held last week or two of January, I should say. And you go out there and you ski and you hobnob and you go to bars and you drink lots of interesting, warm, fuzzy drinks, and you hobnob with other filmmakers, actors, writers, directors. And a lot of them aren't famous yet because this is their first film, maybe. If they're lucky, they got into Sundance. And now a lot of people who did get into Sundance made their careers that way. Because once your film gets in there, that puts you on the map. Distributors will look at your film now because you got into the Sundance Film Festival, and they'll send a representative to Sundance, and if they like it, they will sign you up. They could sign so many movies, and you might make a movie that costs $50,000, $100,000, which I know sounds like a lot, but it is nothing. And you might sell your movie for $2 million, $3 million. They've sold movies there as high as $10 million. So you could get paid pretty well if you sell your movie there. Now, the thing is when you make a movie in Mexico in a 2-week period, and what you do is, because you can't pay people, you sign deferred contracts. You defer the payment. That defers, if you sell your movie, they will get paid. But 99% of deferred movies never make their money or get enough money to pay people. And so you do a project and you usually do it for free. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Because you're in a creative an endeavor with a bunch of other people, a very honorable endeavor to make a movie. And there's a lot of grace in that. And so my film was rejected at Sundance. It was too quirky, and we knew that. But it played during Sundance because my film was accepted at a new festival that just started that year, 1995. It was called the Sundance Film Festival. You can look it up. And it had 12 original films, and most of the films were people who had played the independent feature film market in New York City, where my film played. And we met these people, and we hung out with them, had drinks with them, and they said, we're starting a film festival, and it's called Anarchy in Utah. It's all the rejects from Sundance. That wasn't slick enough. We don't have movie stars in our films. they're still worthy films, I hope. And and guess what? They decided to put it on the exact same time as Sundance in 1995. And so when in Park City, folks, and also in Salt Lake City. So Redford's people, lawyers, they caught wind of this and they were not happy. It looked like they were stealing the name. They were essentially slam dance, which was like, if you know anything about punk rock, you're slam dancing in the mosh pit. It was the little festival the little rude festival that really upset the big fancy men at Sundance. So much that Redford actually had a press conference where he badmouthed it. He said these films don't deserve this. They're cutting in on our territory. They're using our They're essentially almost using our name, and we think it is it hurts everybody. Well, it played on the national news, folks, on Dan Rather, and people weren't happy. They go, look like Redford was trying to, uh, David and Goliath. He was Goliath, and Slam Dance was David, and there was a backlash on him on the whole Sundance Festival, and Redford was supposed to be, he was supposed to be promoting the independent film director, the unknown directors, the unknown actors, and all of a sudden he backtracked on that. And because of the bad press they got, and they said, "Oh, we welcome everybody." They really didn't, but they had to. Very large crowd. Was My film was really well received. By the way, we had question and answers. Mostly people want to know how you pay for it. Well, it took us 5 years to pay for it through loans and credit cards and everything else. But also, we had a couple screenings in Park City itself. We rented a hotel room, it was not a hotel room, but it was a conference room, and we rented projectors and we screened our films there. And then we put up posters all over the town saying, "We're not Sundance, we're Slam Dance. Come to see our festival." And people did show up, and we got fairly good response. And so I could say my film played at Sundance, but not in the Sundance Festival. Now, since then, just to give you a little FYI, Slam Dance has become a very huge, successful festival, and now they literally they have 1,000, 1,500 entries a year. Films that play in there get sold. People, distributors go to Slam Dance now looking for worthy movies, and so they really started a phenomenon. Now there was other film festivals that came after that. No Dance. People started showing up all around this festival because of Slam Dance. I don't think there's other ones existing where, but Slam Dance is still going out there. For be that as it may. So this is how important these festivals were. So I went to the actress in my movie, and for about 5 days we got to walk the streets, snowy streets, and hobnob with all these other film rankers, and we felt like we'd accomplished something. And we flew home and went back to our regular everyday boring jobs. She sold art in a gallery, and I delivered organic food to restaurants. So one day I'm a director, the next day I'm a truck driver, and that was okay because we'd accomplished our dream, and it was pretty exciting, pretty fun. And we were on to the next one, and I'm still on to the next one. Anyway, so Park City, it's a place where careers are made. I'll give you a hint up. If you know who Steven Soderbergh is, his film Sex, Lies, and Videotape played up there in about 1989, got huge response. He's had a career, major career, Hollywood career. He just directed a new movie. He cranks out the movies, but his most famous ones would be the Ocean's 11, 12 remake. I think they even did Ocean's 13. Those made a lot of money with Brad Pitt, George Clooney. He knows how to make money. He knows how to make a commercial film, and then he goes off and does a small film. And he did a film. He's done 2 or 3 films on an filming on an iPhone 7 or 8, and they're always worthy to look at. He still believes in it, and he's had a nice career out of it. Other people whose careers were made up there would be Quentin Tarantino. His movie Reservoir Dogs was huge, gigantic phenomenon, and all of a sudden he sold his film there, and people couldn't wait for him to do his next film, which was Pulp Fiction, and the rest is history. Allison Anders, who directed Gas, Food, and Lodging and Border Radio, started off sort of in the LA punk rock scene. She's still down there. She directs television mostly. Her career was definitely boosted from Sundance. So many more others. A guy whose film didn't make it up there, but I'll talk about him later, Robert Rodriguez, who filmed a movie for $7,000 called El Mariachi. He sold it before he got into Sundance. It was that good of a film, and he went on to make a remake of it, Desperado, and then he's done 10 films. Maybe you know them. He does these Grindhouse films with Tarantino. They did Dusk Till Dawn. He also did Spy Kids 1 and 2. And he lives in Austin, Texas, and he gives back. There next week, I should make you do it right now. In fact, I'm going to do that. Go watch 10-minute film school on YouTube. I'll post it. After he sold his film, he used to conduct these 10-minute film schools in different colleges. How to become a filmmaker. Don't let anybody tell you no. Keep pushing your dream no matter what. He did El Mariachi for roughly $7,000, which I know sounds impossibly low, but he operated the camera. He did it without sound, meaning they dub in the sound later. And he was very clever how he did it. Shot very little film. All his friends worked for free, and they sold it, and he's had a nice career since. But he's given back too. He wrote a great book called Rebel Without a Crew, which is worthy. He does it all. And when he was in film school, the teachers told him, "You'll never make it. You'll never be a director." Boy, if you guys have classes like that where your teachers say you're not going to make it, show them that you can make it. Prove it to them. Teachers, not their job to tell you if you're going to make it or not. They're there to encourage you. Anyway, they didn't encourage him because he was kind of a smart ass, and they don't like that. Getting off a little topic there, but that's how important this film festival was, Sundance. Now, over the years, what's happened, it's gotten too commercial. Now, movie stars are there. They're glamoring around the streets in their high fashion ski clothes. And Lady Gaga shows up now, and the festival is turned into something else. It's turned into a big celebrity schmooze fest, and that's exactly what it wasn't supposed to be. It's in Utah, folks. It's a long way from Hollywood, but Hollywood loves a party, and they go out there to party like crazy. And now celebrities who aren't even in films show up out there just to hang out because it's the cool scene to hang out at the independent film scene. And they've kind of ruined it for sure. Redford knows that. He's trying to pull back the reins a little bit. It's kind of hard once these things get that successful. But he's trying. In the days of making a film for $20,000, $30,000 and getting into Sundance, it's probably over. But there was 3 films, I want to talk about them briefly, that got into Sundance, and they're all, except for the one, El Mariachi, and they're all made for under $30,000. One was called The Laws of Gravity, which was filmed for about $30,000. Kind of a mean streets crime, low life crime genre, I would say, in the filmed in New York City. Some really good actors. Nick Gomez directed it, and Nick Gomez had been an editor for Hal Hartley. And Hal Hartley, who I adore, his films are not commercial, but they played at Sundance. Ow! I have a hurt elbow and I just hit it. Sorry. Anyway, Nick Gomez made Laws of Gravity and handheld camera, rough language, rough subject matter, really intense, good acting. And that got him put on the map. Another film that came out, made for about $25,000, was called The Living End by Greg Araki, a Japanese-American filmmaker, gay. I say that because all his films usually have a gay theme to them. And he made Laws of Gravity about two gay guys they both got HIV positive, and they go on what do you do when you get HIV positive, folks? You go on a crime spree because it's cool. And he's gone on to make some really good movies, not all with gay themes, but there's always a sexual aspect to it, meaning there's some kind of transgressive sexual issues going on. That's just part of the background. He's still working. Once in a while he does a TV thing. He's still out there. He's probably in his late 50s now, and he still believes. And he usually uses a lot of young actors. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. Some of them got kind of famous. Gordon Levitt was in one of his early films. You know, the kid who's very popular now, but he was in that TV series I never watched, Third Rock from the Sun. He was the kid in that. He's gone on to have a really nice career, and he started off on one of Greg Araki's early movies. He was willing to take a chance because the films sometimes are naughty. They might be rated X, but is it worth it? Well, if you're an artist, you'd have to make that choice. The third film that didn't go to Sundance was El Mariachi. It was so successful that they brought him out to Hollywood. They said, listen, we're going to give you $10 million to make your next movie. And he said, that's crazy. I don't need $10 million. Why don't you do this instead? Give me $10 million and I'll make 10 $1 million movies. And they said, we don't want you to do that. We want all of our money in one movie. See, that's how Hollywood thinks. They're not going to make it, folks. That's the film, the lighting, the food, the transportation. You can't pay a lot of people very much money with that. But when you have a $10 million movie, you could give a Hollywood actor $1 million or $500,000. And so they got essentially remade it. And El Mariachi was remade into Desperado. Lots of action, lots of shooting, lots of cool stunts, and it made a boatload of money. But that's how Hollywood operates. They don't want you to make small budget movies because they want to hire movie stars to act in your movies because that guarantees box office. You'll go to a movie with Antonio Banderas, but you go to a movie with somebody you've never heard of. Probably not. Hopefully you do, because half the foreign films out there, nobody knows those actors. So I hope you go to them. Who saw Parasite this year? Anybody? Won the Academy Award last year for Best Movie from South Korea. Does anybody know those actors? It's a great movie, folks. Donald Trump hated it because he said it's not American. Okay, it wasn't. But it won the Academy Award. You won't know one actor in it because they're all South Korean actors. Unless you know those films, you won't know them. I find it refreshing not to see a bunch of movie stars. I think they get in my way now. I don't believe them half the time because it looks like they're just faking it. But you watch Parasite and it looks It looks real to me, and that's great. This suspension of disbelief is really important for your film to be successful. Anyway, other film festivals that are hugely important would be the Toronto Film Festival. It's very important. If your film gets in there, you're on your way, folks. There's a smaller festival, wonderful festival in Telluride, Colorado. Who's been to Telluride? Wonderful town of Telluride. I went there twice. My film played in Telluride, and got to go there. They shut the whole town down for Labor Day weekend, meaning they shut all the streets down to traffic, I should say. And it's a film festival, 5 days of nothing but people walking in the streets, eating in great restaurants, going to movies. You can get as many movies in as you can. And yes, you'll see movie stars walking around because their movies are playing there. It's not easy to get to Telluride. There's no easy airport. We drove up from Santa Fe, which was about a 5-hour drive, so we didn't need an airport. But anyway, it's up in the mountains there, above Durango, Colorado, which is a cool town too. Really nice, important film festival to get into. In Europe, it would be Berlin Film Festival, Venice Film Festival, Cannes Film Festival is probably the largest film festival in the world. And that's really for big movies, not usually for the $30,000 movie. But there are film festivals just about in every major city in America: Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, even in small towns, Santa Fe, Taos, and on it goes, Long Island. Film festivals bring in tourism, they bring in interesting people to the community. And they're really a fun thing to attend, especially when your film is playing in one of them. I attended quite a few when our film was running around the country, and you're treated pretty special when your film is in one of these things. People look at you differently. You're no longer the truck driver delivering organic food to restaurants. You're now a writer director. It feels pretty good. So Sundance is the epicenter of all the film festivals. Even those other ones are very important. 10 years ago or so, Robert De Niro started the Tribeca Film Festival with a bunch of rich friends, and immediately a lot of young underdog film festivals like Telluride and stuff were upset over that because De Niro's got a lot of clout and a lot of rich friends. And Tribeca is a really fancy area of New York, if you guys know where it is, over by Wall Street. And they take over the town, and they have huge, important films. They get the best directors, the best people there. So Tribeca is a huge film festival. That's important. So these film festivals, are they as important as they used to be? That's hard to say, especially in this pandemic. Are people willing to put out money? Distributors, I'm talking about, $4 or $5 million to something. It's a risky game out there, because what plays in the movie theaters right now, for the most part, are big action-packed superhero movies that were made for $200-300 million. So if you make a movie for $30,000, how's it going to play at the mall? It's not, probably. So that's the dynamic in movie theaters has changed, especially since the pandemic, when movie theaters are mostly vacant right now. So you can still make small stuff, I believe. I still believe there's hope. Now we have Netflix and Hulu, and it's all relative. Okay, that's it, folks. You've probably seen a bunch of Sundance films and you don't even know it. If you ever get a chance to go, it's not going to happen this year. Next year, hopefully, once we're all inoculated and this horrible pandemic is on the wane, we'll be going to Park City and partying like there's no tomorrow with Quentin Tarantino. Anyway, and on that note, remember, folks, everything is cinema.